Hello, and welcome to ce3372 Water Systems Design, Fall 2020. So this course in Water Systems Design is online only modality, and so this first lesson is largely associated with exploring the resources that are to be used in the course. So if you're watching this video, you either received the link from me by email, or you went to the Blackboard site from the university and then it took you to the Lesson 1 Part 1 link, which is what you're watching now. So the content for the course is maintained at a server, and the URL is atomickitty.ddns.net. Be sure you include the ddns.net portion, because there's another server I operate, which is atomickitty.net, which you will be using it later on in the semester. The intent is you actually won't know that, but if you go to that one instead, you're going to get peculiar behavior. So atomickitty.ddns.net, and here it is in bigger font right here in the middle of the screen where the cursor is cursing us red baron. Down here there's various posts. I haven't posted anything since March. Generally this area of blog posts will have nothing to do with the class, but it's organized so that the most recent ones make it to the top row. So if there's something there, there should be a fairly key heading on that. You will undoubtedly during the semester get the network failure posts and possibly some web services posting. So let's proceed. So there's some navigation boxes up here, and let me shrink this temporarily. If you're watching this on like a phone or something, which is not an appropriate device unless in an extreme situation, and it's narrow enough aspect ratio, you get these three lines here which contain the links. So let me go back to almost full screen, but it's mostly set up to be examined in a web browser. And I know that the access works. This is Safari. No, it says Firefox. I know it works in Safari. I occasionally access it with the Microsoft Edge, or whatever they're calling their thing now. I have a couple machines that have Chrome browsers, and I've looked at it in a Chrome browser. I don't know how reliable that is. So it should work with any modern browser. It should even work in Opera. I don't have an old copy of Netscape, so I'm curious if that will work. I don't think Netscape can support certain aspects of modern web browsers. So proceeding forward, the two areas that you'll be familiar with a lot are the teaching and the web toolbox, but we'll go to teaching first. And in the teaching, there's a listing of various courses, and the course content for this class is here, and it should look like this. Server homepage, Moodle at Atomic Kitty, syllabus, lessons, exercise, web-based toolkit, EPA Net in a box, Swim in a box, and then Polaris at atomickitty.ddns.net. I think that's a mistake. I think that's actually supposed to go to Amazon Web Services. Well, if it becomes necessary, I will fix it during the semester. And so this is a direct access to course content. The other way you get to it is from the Blackboard site. There's also a link to this Atomic Kitty Moodle website, and this is where all your exercises are to be submitted, your quizzes will be taken, and your exams will be taken. Currently there's a fake account named James Bond and James Bond F007, so we'll log in as James Bond. And so it's asking us for James Bond. So James Bond is a student account. I'm totally hosed if there's a real student named James Bond, because I'll have to come up with something else. Cap F pound 007. We'll log him in. Hopefully he's shaken and not stirred. And this is what the Moodle site looks like. So I've chosen to organize it in the lessons come first, and then quizzes and exercises, and then examinations. Now at the time of this recording, components of this are not populated yet, and there are some components that are to be changed. But let's go to lesson 1, introduction, which is this lesson, and I want to verify that the links are working. So right now James Bond can't look at it, but this is the other way you will get to it. Let me log out as James Bond, log in as the administrator. Hopefully I got that right. And I want to just take a look at what lesson 1 looks like. Cool. Okay, so this is the first page of lesson 1P1. It says examine the server content at. If we take this link, it's going to take us there. And then the next thing is you will answer a question. It says I've examined the contents for lesson 1. You want to answer true, because what it will do is force you to go back. It'll put you in a loop until you answer true. Ideally, you want that to be the correct answer. You want it to be factual. And it says, congratulations, you've got done. We can go look at the grades if we want it, but it doesn't matter. So that's lesson 1. So this is the alternate way, or possibly the preferred way to get to everything. Saves you from having to remember the direct access URL. Let me log out, and you will receive from me by email login credentials to the Moodle site. Each student gets their own login credentials, so you have your own account on the Moodle site. And again, the purpose for the Moodle site is mostly to store your submitted exercises, your submitted exams, and take quizzes. And we will get into more of that probably in the next lesson. So let's go back to Atomic Kitty, back to teaching, and back to water systems design, lessons, lesson 1, and the lesson notes are, all the lessons are organized the same way. So there's like L1P1 is lesson 1 part 1, L1P2 is lesson 1 part 2. And you'll have to make the decision based on whether you have a working version of PowerPoint installed on your machine. If you're a Macintosh user and you've been deceived by the Catalina upgrade, most of your Microsoft stuff stopped working. And the Office 365 is, in my opinion, not a good solution. But there's PDF versions, and the PDF ones should be readable with a web browser add-in. So let's go to lesson 1 part 1, which is what this video is about. So this is the introduction, and now I'm looking at a PDF file. So the mode for the class is online, a combination of asynchronous and synchronous. Asynchronous is the pre-recorded lessons, very much like this recording that you're listening to now. And the synchronous will be webinar style. Plus, the Moodle site allows a wiki environment, kind of like Wikipedia, but it's actually on the Moodle server. The content is linked to a learning management system. In this case, it's Moodle. And the content is stored mostly in a conventional web server environment. Exercises, quizzes, and exams are administered by the learning management system. Now we'll get to an ordinary, typical beginning of a class. My name's Theodore G. Cleveland, PhD, PE, member of ASCE, and I'm a fellow of the Environmental Water Resources Institute. And I think that's all the initials I can put out after my name. That's actually pretty good because I got a few vowels, plenty of consonants. I can probably spell stuff with the extension. There's the URL to the course content is here, and the URL to the learning management system is there, and we've already visited that. And so the rest of the introduction is normally the website tour. And so I'll show you where the lectures are located, the toolkits, some of the programs, the exercises, and the exams. I guess I should have done that when I was at the Moodle site. But first, we will look at the syllabus. So on the course homepage, it should be on any page. I think I have the navigation set up that any page you can get to the syllabus. But for sure at the course homepage. So if you go to course homepage, syllabus, and it lists the syllabus. And at the time of this recording, the syllabus is kind of just a framework. And so we'll look at the framework. It has the lesson listing and the pretty much intended lesson topics, and then the final exam, and the layout is the same whether it's section 1 or section 2. And hopefully by the time you're seeing this, the actual syllabus, the whole status line says something like completed. And these are the topics and the dates that they're intended to be delivered. Check. The week of Thanksgiving, there is a course meeting. One of the beauty of online is if you're in Lubbock and you're traveling somewhere for Thanksgiving, all you have to do is log in and do any asynchronous activity. And then the first 2 meetings in December kind of concludes the class on sanitary sewers and then outfalls. And in the final exam, because it's online, come on, machine, quit doing that. I got an audience here. The final exam will become available on December 4th, and then I have it set due on December 9th. So that's roughly 5 days to do the final exam, and it should not take 5 days to do it. One of the issues with the exams administered on my Moodle site is once you start them, you have to finish them in that sitting. So don't start the exam, work on it 10 minutes, and walk away, because you will be cheating yourself doing that. You have to sit through and complete it all in one jolt. So, allocate an appropriate amount of time, a couple of 3 hours or so is the intent. Obviously, exams are open notes and open computer. In case it's where there's need for computation that needs to be documented. And then there are 2 projects for the class that are called RP1 and RP2, and those are also noted in the Moodle site, and they are very similar to the exercises, but they are more like formal design projects. You may be working in teams. The teams will be assigned, and they're called groups in Moodle, so you'll be assigned to a group. Each group will have its own wiki, so you can share stuff just among yourselves. The other groups can't see it. I can see it, obviously, because I am the server administrator. And then there's going to be a main wiki for all of us to use, and the idea there is you could type in questions. Anybody that knows the answer is free to answer them, and then if nobody has an answer and I see it in a reasonable amount of time, I'll go ahead and try to answer a question. And it's also a place to post links, so if you find a link to some cool software or a cool video, by all means grab the link and drop it in the wiki, because that'll really make the class good, not only for you all, but for future victims. And the syllabus has the ABET outcomes, although I believe I have the coding incorrect now. There's been some changes in ABET switched from letters to numbers and numbers to letters, and I don't think I have those labeled right. And then the goal of the class is that you will, by the end of it, have read and synthesized and communicated ideas in current and historical technical literature. You've done flow and transport computation in simple topologies using various tools. You will have used EPANet, SWIM 5.0, and you'll have some design experience where you'll size and select engineering materials for use in drinking water, stormwater, and wastewater. And you'll prepare reports for the design of drinking water system, stormwater collection system, possibly wastewater collection. The problem is set up that you can do all three, but we'll see how the calendar time works out on that. And I think that is everything we need to do here. This is actually pretty up to date for syllabus. All right, so continue with the website tour. That was the syllabus tab. There's some stuff here that actually is very much like the syllabus. Has the prerequisites for the course. So in the course, you should have been in Engineering 1315, although a lot of what will be presented is targeted to the Engineering 1330, which is the new computing course. So you will see stuff that you may not expect. It won't be a disadvantage because you're all equally unaware of that. And then the software, this online course, we're going to use a shared computing environment that I've built, and I'll go through how to access that. And by shared, it's shared, so be sure that as you move files there and you move them back, you clearly identify them so that other people don't clobber your files. There are some Macintosh application bundles, so EPANet and SWIM will work far better if you download them to your computer. But if you happen to be a Macintosh user, that's not a really good option. If you're running Macintosh Catalina, the newest operating system, or Big Sur for that matter, the even newest one, the application builds that I've built and used for years will not work. The current only option for that, if you're going to insist on using your own computer, would be to get VMware Virtual Machine or Parallels Virtual Machine and install that, or boot camp it, and anyway actually run it on a Windows machine, even though the hardware may be Macintosh. And I'm not going to provide technical support for doing that. Of those, if you need a recommendation, buy Parallels or VMware, whichever one you like or seems easier to use. But if you're running Mojave or something older, so that's operating system 10.14.6, I have a set of application bundles already built, and I just took the link, and you can go to a particular one. There is a video, which you're going to want to watch that first. Then there's the actual bundle and some example files. And this was last checked on January 2020, but big warning right there, they don't work. Last known working OS was Mojave. The usual question is, well, why can't you do it? So it's Apple's fault, and I can't control what Apple does. They're a business, and they look out at their business environment, and they go, there's 1,000 people a year that need to be able to run these things on a Macintosh. There's 1 billion people on the planet that buy Macintoshes. To hell with those 1,000 people, and so they don't support it. And that's just life. So as an alternative for the Mac users, I have some shared environments, which are the same program, and you need internet for that because you will log into a remote computer. There's also a shared Jupyter Lab computing environment, which lets you run Python and R scripts in something called a Jupyter Notebook. If you had Engineering 1330, you'll know what a Jupyter Notebook is. If you've not had it, you may have no clue. And then there are claims there's archives here, but I don't know if those are actually active links. Yeah, you're getting 404s. They're not there yet. So I'm not trying to hide anything from you. I just haven't uploaded the archives from some past semesters. Let's look at the shared environment briefly. So I chose EPANet in a box, and it has a little bit of introductory material. There's supposed to be a video link, so this has a video link. The user's guides, I don't think go anywhere. See with the video link, and the video link actually isn't alive yet. But EPANet in a box, if we click on this, it tells us what the passkey is. So it's VNC #1. So what I'm going to do is copy that passkey. I'll go here, and it takes it a little bit of a while to load up, longer than I expect. And so this is the standard entry portal. It says no VNC. I don't actually know what the acronym means. VNC means Virtual Network Computing. I don't know what the NO means. And this is standard. It says connection's not secure. Go ahead and enter the password. Send the credentials. And if it's working, you get a desktop that looks like this. Cool. So over here, there's a couple of files you'll see. So if the file has the name launch, that's a launcher script. It's to start a program. And so the two that are set up here on this one are RStudio and EPANet 2.2. And then the files are stored here on the desktop in a directory called EPANet files. And the Hydra 1 examples are mostly where I'm going to put stuff for the class. So we'll go ahead and run EaglePass. Let me close that. So clicking on the file won't do anything. But clicking on the launcher, so I'm going to double click on the launcher, which I've just done, and up comes EPANet. Click on File. I'll open EaglePass base pump bigdaytank.net. Says where's the base map. Go ahead and load that in. And this works just like the EPANet that's documented on the internet. We can go ahead and we'll run it because I think this one's already set up to run. Run was successful. Let's go ahead and turn on the pressures. And so there's a little color scale up here. And so these colors at these round things represent pressures at those locations. And then the numbers represents the pressure in PSIs. So junction 330 has 85.90 PSI. And we can run the little animator, and it's going to go through. Keep your eye up here in the upper right corner where it has day 1, 12 a.m. I think this runs 24 hours. And so you can see as time progresses, the system pressures change. Okay, so as of right now, it's just making colorful pictures. But that's where the EPANet work can be done. And when we get to that part of the class, I'll explain to you how to move files to and from. And let me stop the animation. I'll exit and then disconnect from the remote machine. Okay, cool. The other one is Swim in a Box. I don't have as cool an example already pre-placed, but it works exactly the same way, except it uses a different passkey. Go to Swim in a Box, hit the connection scheme, provide the passkey, send it, and we now have Swim in a Box. And the desktop's laid out almost the same way. It also has the R script launcher. And there's our swim interface. See if there's one that's already there. So I put node depths. There's one node right there. This is not a very interesting example. But let's run the animator and see what happens. Well, it's animating, but there's nothing to show. So node was not the... There, I'll run the precipitation. So you can see the catchments are changing color as the precipitation changes. Turn those to none. So there's some very low rainfall. We're in the 0 to 0.5 inches per hour, and the color is going to change. Okay, so that's good enough for now. I just wanted to show you how to get to the stuff. Let's exit. We don't need to save the results. And when we get to the swim portion of the class, we will revisit that with a little bit more instruction on how to actually use it. So let's see, we've disconnected. So I can now return back to the course. There is a Jupyter Hub associated with this class, and we will save that for when we actually need it. There's also a web-based toolkit which has some simple tools in it, except it just went to the wrong one. And let's go through the lessons. So the lessons are located under the lesson tab. The exercises are located under an exercise tab. Let's just look at one of them. This can also be accessed from the Moodle site. So this one has the following thing. Read the attached article and then write a summary of the article. Here's the attached article. Okay, so you would download and read that and then summarize it, and then you would upload your summary to the Moodle site. The same file is at the Moodle site. A different one has kind of a fluids review, so you perform some calculation. This is handled the same way. You will do these calculations, document them, prepare a, for lack of a better word, a report. You upload it to the Moodle site. So that's how your exercises are done. And currently there's a lot of placeholders, but there'll be formal exercises. So I've just gone on to report 1, which is actually blank. I bet report 2 is empty too, yeah. So those will be populated by the time you're taking the class. And then the readings are actually referenced in the individual lessons. So if we go to lesson 1 and we look in notes, you see that the readings are cross-linked there. And you go to a particular reading and you can perform the reading, although it's probably best to download it and read it in that fashion. But you can get to the readings in their individual storage. There's no index here, so you have to kind of figure out from the directory name what's contained in the reading. All right, that I think should be a sufficient introduction to the resources for CE3372